here's what I learned today, and here's what you're going to learn. So, James Marriott, born in 1997. Jesus Christ. Um,
Even
he
I'm
lived
like,
in,
God damn.
hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Das Audiophiles.
Mhm.
My name's John. His name's Andy. Husband don't know what he's done. Kids don't know what's wrong with mum. She can't say, they can't see. Putting it down to another bad day. Not more on that later because we've got something else to be going along with for now. Um, so it is a Friday episode for those of you with access to a calendar, and that means we're secret. We don't record it on a Friday, but so that means we have a track specifically garnished to us by one of our lovely viewers, viewer requests, if you want to call it another term. Um, and so this one has been suggested by Pumpkin Spiced Moon 4216. I think I had some of that on some sourdough bread at a Pret a Manger, I'm pretty
It sounds
sure.
delicious.
I hope it wasn't one of his relatives. So Pumpkin Spice Moon 4216 has suggested a track. They dropped a comment one of our previous episodes, Lovejoy's Scum, and they have asked us to listen to a track by James Marriott.
I gotta be
Um,
honest, when you said it was on a Lovejoy reaction, I only assumed it was another Lovejoy track. Because that's what they usually garner, but that's cool.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
So different artist. Now, of course, we have to beforehand sort of work out what the hell's going on with these requests and if we know them or not. So we've had the discussion. I believe that neither of us have ever heard of Mr. Marriott or his workings. So the coin was flipped, the bottle was spun, and Andy ended up with this sticky end. And so he will be going off and listening to the song, which is Where Has Everyone Gone? And then come back and test a reaction, and I will hopefully chip in with some factoids, and we'll see how it all goes.
All
But
right.
hilarity will ensue along the way, I'm sure of it.
We'll see. All
Okay,
right.
so
Yeah.
yeah, just to confirm, Andy, you've not heard of James Marriott?
No, I haven't. Not one bit. So I'm kind of looking forward, especially given that it did come on a Lovejoy reaction. I'd be interested to hear if this is like some newer sounding stuff, maybe one of their contemporaries or something. But aside from any supposition, that I'm really flying blind here, so I'm looking forward to giving this thing a go.
Right. Well, you scuttle off into your dark corner, put it on your listening pods, and we'll see you in a bit.
All right, we'll do. Kind of like lo-fi drums and bass a little bit there. All right, interesting start. I like this sort of the cinematography of it so far. It's interesting.
Another dawn, finding out you're moving on without a doubt. Say what you need to restrain me.
Loved when those guitars came in. I loved that. Well, I think we had like two of them there. We had like this real crunchy, sort of like power chord driven one, then one that was doing some more melodic stuff. Really liked what the melodic guitar was doing there. Sounded really good. Take nothing away from the other one, it was adding edge and everything else, but I really liked the melody on that guitar. And now the guitars have cut out. We're back into this bass and drum motif with a singer doing his thing. No, so far this is sounding good.
Pick me up to put me down. It isn't fair when you shout. Patience there, but it's running out. Today's the day that you'll all see. Bet you wish you kept me now. Where has everyone gone? Was I really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was I really not good enough for you? Not again.
Loved the bass in that chorus. It sounded awesome.
Second time, kill a friend, feel alive. Do you feel the fulfillment from within? Or the momentum when you take a dive? Bumble roads and city lights, get in the car, won't get left behind. Tell me again, I'm a has-been. It might kick me into overdrive. Where has everyone gone? Was I really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was I really not good enough for you? And you'll never be saved from the pace of the change. You can feel it in your skin as the eggs start setting in. And one day you'll be gone. Is there anyone good enough for you? Show the way, take it in, stay the same, specimen, loss of faith, breathing in, ricochet, adrenaline. Show the way, take it in, stay the same, specimen, loss of faith, breathing in, ricochet, adrenaline. Where has everyone gone? Was I really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was I really not good enough for you? And you'll never
Okay, I'm going to take it back a little bit. So these bridges are a little cliche to music, right? Like you kind of bring everything down to take it back, and you can kind of almost predict it. That doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, it means it's tried and tested and good. But yeah, I could see the writing on the wall as it was sort of unfolding. Maybe even a step before that, but it sounded really, really good, and I like the way that built back up. So we're gonna take it back a little bit and experience that again.
specimen, loss of faith, breathing in,
Like these keys.
Where has everyone gone? Was I really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was I really not good enough for you? And you'll never be saved from the pace of the change. You can feel it in your skin as the eggs start setting in. And one day you'll be gone. Is there anyone good enough?
I think the second time I've heard that sound effect, sorry to stop again, but the first time I heard it, it sounded like a car turning on like an old dirt road or something. This time it sounded almost like thunder striking in the back. Let me take that back a little bit just to hear that again.
And one day you'll be gone. Is there anyone good enough for you?
Gotta love a little bass slide there. I suppose that's it. All right. Well, That was a really good tune. I mean, it wasn't anything divergent or different from plenty of other stuff I've heard in the past, but I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. The guitar sounded great. That bass, especially during the chorus, was awesome. That last bit, after sort of built back up with all that fervor to carry things out, the drums were really great. And that guy's voice was good. Yeah, this was a nice song. Excellent suggestion. And I'm interested to hear more about this fella or this band, this James Marriott. I don't know if they're a band or a singular dude doing all of this stuff, but certainly enjoyed what I heard of him or them today. And maybe John can fill in some gaps. So let's get back to him.
So you back? What do
I
you think?
am. I I enjoyed the experience. This was, I could tell by listening to it that this felt more contemporary than something from, times before mine. So it was nice to hear some new stuff that I wasn't familiar with. It kind of started off with, I mean, obviously you have that, like, the drum and the bass starting kind of kicking things off, and it almost had like a sort of this lo-fi kind of sound to it. You had these, like, particularly the drum beat, and the bass had kind of like this a bit of a gritty sound to it. And then you get this crashing, crunchy guitar chords that are coupled with this fun and peppy guitar melody. So I'm believing that there's two guitarists, or at least two guitars used when laying down this track. And they cut out for the first verse to start. So we have the singer, and now again we're back to the bass and the drums from the very, very beginning, and the singer, and they're doing, the bass and the drums are doing something a little bit different, not as lo-fi sounding. And about halfway through the verse, that melodic guitar that slowly joined the intro again makes an appearance, and I'm really loving the sound of the guitar, especially in this, like, second half of the verse, which becomes a theme throughout for the verses throughout the song, where the guitar kind of begins to emerge as the verses progress. And I love the this sort of, I guess as the chorus kicks off, the bass that's happening within the chorus is really, really good. I'm loving sort of the bouncing nature of the bass. It's kind of keeping everything in movement, because the chorus really does kick off and kind of progress to the next level of fervor from that verse, which is really just a building pattern the whole way through. So yeah, love that bass. Definitely caught my ear. And then as the chorus comes to an end, there's this interesting sound effect, almost like a car turning off asphalt onto a dirt road or a stone paved road. Because it almost sounds like wheels over stones. And I thought that was kind of an interesting use of sound effect. And this is right before the next verse kind of takes shape. And there are some disturbing lyrics I'm picking up on now. One in particular alluding to the killing of a friend just to feel alive, which I gotta say, a little disconcerting, if I'm being honest. I'm hoping there's a metaphor there. What'd you say?
We've all been there.
Yeah, but, just what that.
What's
That
the
joy
statute
of
of
life I
limitation
can't
again? Oh, shush.
This is why I'm glad we film these with you safely across the pond. I don't have to worry about looking over you with a butcher knife. I do love this. Again, in the second verse, this melodic guitar bit is like inching its way into my head, and it's really reminding me a lot of some of the guitar work. And this guy has used so many different kinds of guitar styles and sounds in his band's work, but he is really a master at flirting with different sounds. But this reminds me of some of the stuff Mike Einzinger from Incubus would do with guitar. It's almost this jazzy, fun, strummy stuff that's going along, and it's creating this really great sound in the verse. And after the next chorus, around the 2:30 mark, the song shifts into this slightly cliched but still very enjoyable bridge, where it's so, I said it's not something that I'm sick of, but it's something that is so tried and true that you're going to see it a lot, right? Where they deconstruct a song to build it back up, to create this, like, culmination of sound that is sort of the crescendo of the tune, right? So they're doing that. They kind of break everything down. We slip into this bridge. And they start building things back up. And I think during that, I'm hearing some really interesting, maybe for the first time it's happening, or maybe it's just for the first time I'm hearing it. I'm hearing these lovely keystrokes, these chords, and these sort of tinkly bits that are happening on the keys. And I really enjoyed them. For me, in this song, in my first listen, it was sort of this first time I'm hearing it. So it's sort of like this sonic differentiating point that sort of stuck out to me. I guess now we're 3/4 of the way through the song. And I really enjoyed those. They also kind of punctuate the beat that's happening as well. And I enjoyed that aspect of their sound. But then, like clockwork, the song hits the crescendo point and kicks off into the full fervor of the chorus again. And this time around the 3:32 mark, we get that sound effect again. I think it's the same sound effect, or at least it's one that's adjacent. But this time, and I don't know if it's because it's happening in the cacophony of all this other sound, whereas the other one, it was the other sounds were dying as it was prevailing. But this, coupled with everything, sounded almost more like a thunder roll, or like this storm that was happening. And I thought that was really cool and interesting too. And you can also imagine in one of these, you can imagine in one of the portions of this song where everything is really kicking off, the drums and the fervor of the guy playing them, just the way everything is coming together. I can see this guy just going ham on the drums in my mind's eye, and I really enjoyed the drums at this part of the song. But as all good things come to an end, so does this song, and it does so in the form of this lovely little bass slide at the very end, and then we get silence. Yeah, I mean, this isn't something. The style of this song and the sort of blueprint that it follows, in which it was created, are nothing new in the sound of music or in rock and roll. But that doesn't make it any less enjoyable, right? If it's not broke, a lot of times you don't want to fix it. And I thought that this sounded really good. I enjoyed the guy's voice. I really enjoyed the more melodic of the two guitars. Not to take anything away from the crunchiness of the other guitar and the sort of those power chords, but I've heard so much of that in my time that the fun, more melodic guitar was the one that stood out to me. The bass of the chorus was fabulous. This is a pretty good song. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that Pumpkin Spice offered it up because it was a good listen. Interested to hear what you have to say about it, because this is a little bit more new, and I can see you maybe not liking some of the flashier production in the polished nature of it all. But for me, I've heard so much stuff like it that it doesn't wear on me at all.
Yeah, well, we all have our little buttons that get pressed that produce results or produce an adverse reaction, and
Yeah,
they're pretty well known now on this channel. Spoken voice, overproduced vocals, flashy production. These are each of our little,
yeah,
bits on there that we don't like. Yeah, I think listening to this, I had some little nagging doubts, which actually were confirmed when I did the research on this guy. And so for me, it sounded like somebody who was producing this music that really likes this kind of music, has an idea of the sound, was kind of reaching for it a bit, like following the yellow brick road, as it were.
yeah,
And I feel that it reminded me a lot of sort of second, third iteration Strokes, second iteration Block Party, that sort of sound, which are all good sounds, and why not? I thought his voice was a bit monotone.
yeah.
But
I can see that.
that bridge bit where you got to, and the sort of cliche breakdown, which it's fine. It just doesn't do anything for me, but it doesn't turn me off.
Yes.
But after they came back and they hit the stride where you say this, this whirlwind of noise, I felt at that point they really let themselves go for it, and it sounded more real and natural. And I really enjoyed that sort of last, quarter third of the song.
Mhm.
Much more, because I don't think they were worried then about following the idea in his head of how it should sound, and they just went for it.
Yeah,
And his voice actually got better in that bit as well, a bit more dynamics to it. So yeah, there was a lot to enjoy from this song. The first part of it was nothing new, but just really nice and enjoyable, and the latter part of it I thoroughly enjoyed, actually. And I
Yeah.
could see the potential that this guy has.
Yeah,
That's my
and speaking of the whole this guy, is that what we're dealing with here? Like is it him on
think so.
everything?
I'll go into it's hard because he's an online presence and
Yeah.
has come through this, so hasn't even got like much on like traditional like wiki and stuff like that. I went into Discogs to see because they're really good on the credits for each release. It's just his name and his writing partner. So in terms of people who made the sounds on this song, it could well have been just him or him and his
Yeah.
mates laying down stuff, which is easily done now.
Yeah. And I suppose
People have
that
to do
question
it. But,
on these Friday episodes is just as much for you as it is for Pumpkin Spice and the folks that are going to, by will tune into this thing. Maybe they know
yeah,
some stuff that we don't, and they can fill in the
exactly.
blanks for us. But yeah, I thought it was interesting because even though slightly formulaic, still impressive for this guy to create two disparate guitar sounds that sound good together and piece everything together. Multi-instrumentalist, good for him. Good
Yeah.
one.
I mean, for I don't mean this in a disparaging way because this certainly isn't this, but we call like bedroom sound. All right, I've heard a million times worse and less, inspired than this. So yeah, this is
Without
is
question.
decent stuff.
Yeah.
So here's what I learned today, and here's what you're going to learn. So James Marriott, born in 1997. Jesus Christ. Um,
Even
he
I'm
is
like, God damn.
I used to have a rule years ago: never go out with anyone who couldn't remember the 1992 World Cup. But I mean, that's just bizarre now. Anyway, so he is an English indie musician and live streamer. There's all sorts of stuff about his live streaming and Twitch and all that I'm not going to go into.
Yeah, please.
So he began his career on YouTube, creating reaction and comedy-based video content. So Marriott was born in Switzerland, but he grew up in Buckinghamshire, England.
Okay.
After university, his first online works were sort of cartoons and animations using like Microsoft Paint and clay figurines, as well as sort of Lego to portray storylines. All cool shit. And I've got friends who've done that. I've had my little stint of trying to do that. I loved it with the Action Men as well. Really cool. A friend of mine did a kind of Reservoir Dogs with Action Men that was and he even created a sort of cardboard sort of toilet scene with blood and a tiny paper roll and stuff like that. Really, really fun. No one watches it, but it's great doing it. So in 2012, he diversified into vlogging and music and began uploading acoustic, instrumental, self-made songs to his now main YouTube channel. I think at the start, I haven't written this down, but from reading, he kind of sort of made it like it was a throwaway thing. I think it was a bit of defense mechanism, saying, "Oh, I was just doing it to take the piss out of other YouTubers and stuff like that." But I actually think he actually really values his music because the amount of effort he's put in. But it's kind of just in case someone didn't like it. It's, oh yeah, it's just a joke anyway, just messing around. But he's clearly got more and more into it now, and he's really taking it seriously, which is brilliant. So he released his first single, the yacht rock inspired Slow Down, in May 2020, which he now describes as horrendous. So even he doesn't like it. But it was followed by a couple of EPs and 4 singles before his first album, Are We There Yet, in 2023, which reached number 17 in the UK charts. So not shoddy at all. The album was produced and written in close collaboration with Marriott's rhythm guitarist and keyboardist, so there you go, Juno Suter, as well as Alexei Kiskinen, who worked with Lovejoy in their song Normal People Things.
Oh.
Marriott is also friends with lead singer Wilbur Soot. So he has supported Jake Bugg. I don't know if you're aware of him. He's a sort of young English talent.
Okay.
Pretty good stuff. Supported him at the Royal Albert Hall for a Teenage Cancer Trust concert.
Oh, nice.
And he has also supported Lovejoy on tour. So there's your connection. So
Yeah, and
maybe,
it's interesting because Wilbur sort of did. I think he also went the social media route, like with the Twitch and the YouTubing and stuff like that, and
yeah,
then fell into his act with Lovejoy. So this is sort of a similar route. I can understand why their paths would cross. It's a small
yeah, yeah.
island over there.
So perhaps Pumpkin Spice Moon saw Lovejoy live, saw James Marriott.
Boom,
Let's give
boom.
him some of that.
Yep.
So this
Connected.
track is from his second EP, Bitter Tongues, which was released in June 2022. And I have the lyrics that you referenced.
Yes.
Another dawn, finding out you're moving on without a doubt. Say what you need to restrain me. Pick me up to put me down. It isn't fair when you shout. Patience there, but it's running out. Today is the day that you'll all see. Bet you wish you'd kept me now. Where has everyone gone? Was I really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was it really not good enough for you? And then this bit here is pretty much the first bit is repeated. So not again and not again. Second time, kill a friend, feel alive. Do you feel the fulfillment from within or the momentum when you take a dive? Purple roads and city lights, get in the car or get left behind. Tell me again I'm a has-been, it might kick me into overdrive. Where has everyone gone? Was it really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was it really not good enough for you? And you'll never be saved from the pace of the change. You can feel it in your skin as the ache starts setting in. And one day you'll be gone. Is there anyone good enough or anyone good enough for you? Then there's that bridge which follows it with show the way, take it in, stay the same, specimen. Loss of faith, breathing in, ricochet, adrenaline. Show the way, take it in, stay the same, specimen. Loss of faith, breathing in, ricochet, adrenaline. Where has everyone gone? Was it really not good enough for you? Can't you see what I've done? Was it really not good enough for you? And you'll never be safe from the pace of change. You can feel it in your skin as the aches start setting in, and one day you'll be gone. Is there anyone good enough for you? Little blurb here says that so Where Has Everyone Gone is an indie rock track describing lyrically Marriott's fear of abandonment from his online audience, but can also be perceived as having that same fear from people in his personal life with close friends and family members. Someone really went to the well to write that. Yeah, so I said what I've thought about the piece. There's a couple of little interesting snippets here. There's so much more in here. I'm sure other people can fill in the gaps, but in May 2021, Marriott was falsely pronounced dead, along with a large roster of other UK YouTubers, due to a loophole found in Instagram by a group of anonymous social media users. The loophole allowed them to turn the target's account into a memorial page, giving the impression that the owner of the account had died. This loophole has now been patched.
So it was, I don't know. The first thing I thought of was like this Thanos snapping situation with like the Marvel universe. Like, boom, all the influencers under 25 in England, half of them are gone. You know what I mean? Like, what? How does that happen? But that's a crazy loophole, and I'm glad that they've sutured it up. That's a little crazy.
I could see how that would be fun to do. Yeah. I'm not saying I did it. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
But, I could see that being tempting if you found that. Oh, guess what we could do? I mean, you could do a lot worse and just pretend they're dead, do a lot worse.
John
Anyway.
is inevitable.
In an interview last year, Marriott cited The Strokes, Block Party, Foles, and Kelly Clarkson as influences.
The Kelly Clarkson. I'm glad I didn't get shades of Kelly Clarkson.
This month, he announced that he will be playing at this year's Reading and Leeds festivals on the BBC One Radio 1 stage. So
That's awesome.
he's going from strength to strength. And I think this is the only track of his I've heard, but sort of do the research and reading. I think musically, he's going from strength to strength as well. He's kind of almost. There was one other bit I didn't write down, but he was saying about the progression of his music. He had ambitions to do certain things in certain songs.
Yeah.
But technically, he wasn't able to. So he had to learn how to play like that, to be able to do that bit. So he's growing up in front of the camera, as it were, musically.
Yeah,
Which,
and
is, again, a brave thing to do, but
yeah, it's like the self-education of him before
yeah,
his viewers' eyes, which is pretty cool, ballsy because of how vulnerable
yeah,
you have to
yeah,
be to do that
yeah,
and
big time.
then succeed in doing it, which is a whole nother thing. All while building an audience and a presence. And you could say all you want about millennials, younger millennials, and these Zoomers that are running around now. But they're brave fuckers, man. They really are doing some of this stuff, and they're not afraid to try and fail or succeed, which is really interesting to me that they have this sort of I don't know, it's almost like an entrepreneurial type sort of tinge to their how they go about things, you know what I mean, whether it's online and this and utilizing all the avenues before them and knowing how to navigate them. It's commendable. They always use it for the right reasons? Fuck no. But sometimes you get these really great artists out of it, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged thing. I
Yeah.
think that you do see these people who maybe have had that a bit of gene editing going on, and things like repression and shame and all that good stuff has been taken away, which enables them to do this shit, but it enables them to do some truly dreadful and say some
Right.
truly dreadful things as well. So you wonder about things like empathy as well. But
Yes.
not in
Yes.
this guy's case, nothing to do with him. So yeah, like you're saying, I think this almost live experimentation of, oh, what can I do in front of his
Or what can
audience?
I be? Like what can
Yeah,
I become?
exactly. I think could only endear him to people,
Yeah.
especially if he does put it off, because you're just seeing someone grow in front of you, which is, is
Yeah.
the point of all those talent shows that you watch week in, week out, with the awkward little get at the side of the stage suddenly sings like, Pavarotti or whoever,
Yeah.
and you're rooted for him. It's kind of an underdoggy type thing, but it isn't really, but it kind of is.
Yeah,
So
it,
yeah,
it
it's
it
interesting.
puts me in mind of a guy from over here that actually isn't that young anymore. He's only a little bit younger than me, but that I've shown you, and I know you know about him. But Bo Burnham, who
Yeah, yeah,
his whole comedic and slash music slash comedic presence started at the very beginning of YouTube, when YouTube wasn't even on anyone's real radar yet. And he utilized that to really leapfrog himself to the front of the line on doing these huge comedy shows and touring all over the place. And it's only snowballed from there, right? So now and technology's only made it, and the world's only gotten smaller. So now people can do it pretty with regularity to some degree, and it's pretty impressive to me. So hats off.
yeah.
For
Cool.
sure.
All right, I shall wrap things up. Thanks again, Pumpkin Spice Moon 4216. So yeah, thanks so much for recommending this. I found this really interesting,
Yeah.
and I have to say, enjoyed the song, really enjoyed the latter part of it. So, and it was very interesting to read about this guy that I've not heard about before, and see what he's come from and how he's progressed as well. And in terms of my musical taste, it's nice to see him doing shit that I like, or
Yeah.
trying to do and develop it, which is a big tick, rather than the same old fucking dream pop nonsense you get, like, three girls and four Casio keyboards. And for fuck's sake, we've heard this so many times. So yes, it's cool. New music that sounds like this can only be good. So yeah, thanks again so much. Folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, please hit the like button. Drop some comments. It won't be hard for people to know more about James Marriott than us two ignoramuses. So yeah, please tell us what you think. Tell us all about him. Tell us your thoughts as well on how he's come to the fore and progress. I think it's really interesting. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Help support this channel as we grow up and away in my beautiful balloon. And just remember, this could be your track that we're listening to on a Friday. So please drop in some suggestions as well. We do have a long list, but it needs replenishing. And so, yeah, let us know what you want us to listen to. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.